Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. Why does it seem that vet things come in groups?
Oh God, does that mean we're in for a third vet thing?
Well, look, you had Boba while we were in California.
So we've already had three. All right.
Then
okay.
you had Pretty Girl. She had to go to the vet, which we will talk about. And then, of course, today it was no big deal, but Bree had to go for a checkup to get a dental. And it was complimentary. I was shocked.
They told us that when we booked it, that the exam would be complimentary.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
But Pretty Girl, when she gets mad, she'll pee on things. It's just what she does.
Usually my things.
She's always done it, and it's usually your things. Yes, she doesn't usually do it to me. Once in a blue moon, she does it to me, but I think she looks for the scent of the person and then lets loose. Well,
yeah. She likes beds.
And usually 9 out of 10 times you can figure out we were lax with the kitty litter, so she's mad about that, or we weren't home for a few days. She was mad about that. Usually you can pinpoint what is she mad about.
But last week, this guy was sleeping away on the couch. Oh, it was almost bedtime. I look
a blanket over me.
I look over, and this thunderous cat is taking a leak on his lap.
Yeah, she just peed in my lap.
Yeah.
There's a puddle of piss in my lap.
There was clearly a problem at this point.
And so I looked it up, right? Like the cat's peeing on me and it's peeing on other things and whatnot. And people are like, well, either way, you're going to need to see a vet, but it could be an anxiety, like a mental issue.
Which I think is what her normal peeing is about.
Or it can be a physical issue. Okay. And so you have to go to a vet to have this diagnosed. So we make the appointment and we had a trip planned to California. So I wasn't hurrying to get her in, it was what it was. And so we had the trip planned and we came back Sunday and so we took her in on Monday.
Right.
We got her in the vet and the vet makes all these suggestions for what she'd like to do.
Right.
And in the checking of everything determines that the Pretty Girl has bladder stones.
Yeah.
And
she's got a bladder full of boulders.
So when it's uncomfortable, she feels like she has to pee.
Right.
And so she pees. So it starts to make sense, right? Now this isn't an angry thing. It's a medical thing.
Why she peed in her bed, why she peed on you.
Well, yeah, because she was laying on me and then she's just all of a sudden she has to go. And so she goes.
Boy,
she doesn't feel she doesn't feel like she has time to get to the litter box. So, but now we have a quandary because she has to be fed this super expensive
5 times the price of their normal food.
Bladder diet food. And it's okay because probably the amount of food we bought will last her the whole entire 3 months. I don't see us needing a second bag.
And maybe one other bag.
But not more than that. But it's creating chaos in the house because she's not allowed to eat the other food. She's supposed to eat this food. And she eats it. She likes it. When I give it to her, takes it. But we were going to try isolating them and having a meal time. But our cats have always lived from the day they came in our house as grazers. So they would just graze all day long, blah, blah, blah. We have a cat food feeder and it just pours cat food out.
And they've maintained a healthy weight overall. The Thunderbutt, she got really thunderous for a while, and that's why she's the Thunder, because it's a sound she makes when she jumps off the counter. Anyway, she got really big, but she's kind of evened it out, and she's been steadily getting healthier and healthier. Everybody else is perfect, so it's not like we're not being good pet owners by letting them graze.
You think about it, early on when they first started the grazing is when they would overeat. And that's because they're used to not having enough food.
Right.
So they overeat and they get fat.
Right.
And that's why when you leave the food out there, they're just oh, nom, 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 nom. Well, over time, they realize, hey, there's always food here.
But now
I've never once had a lack of food, so I can just eat what I need. I don't have to be a pig. And I think it actually works to keep their weight at a healthier weight than the other way would.
Right.
Just like with the dogs. So many people feed their dogs twice a day. They feed Boba twice a day.
Right.
I don't really agree with that.
Yogi got so fat when we fed him twice a day.
Yeah.
And we took his existing amount of food,
Cut it in half.
cut it in half, and gave him half in the morning and half in the night. And he got fat.
I think it's a lot like the intermittent fasting does to humans.
Right.
I think it revs up your metabolism. And then you can stay a healthier weight and eat the same amount of food. And when you think about it, dogs become then very cyclical, right? Like, look at how it happens with our dogs. 6 a.m. comes around. It's time to go outside 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
They want to go across the street. Then they want to get in the car. They have their whole routine that they want to do. And yeah, sometimes we have to interrupt it, but that's what they want.
Right.
And they're so used to it that it just becomes like, I'm going to do it.
Right. They got to go right now. This is their routine. This is what they like. You throw a wrench in it. Then we get grumpy Cyrus like we had when we came back from California.
That's right. And that's why you have a regular feeding time for them, because that now becomes a pattern. They're only eating once a day. You start feeding them twice a day. That becomes a pattern. And I think people wind up overfeeding their dogs when they feed them twice a day. I don't think they properly follow. I wonder why, but I think we would have had to cut his diet down a little bit if we were going to continue to feed him.
Small period of time and then probably increase it again up a little.
Weird, right? Like the body's a strange thing. But pretty girl, then I decided this morning actually, to put the food on, like we said, on top of the washing machine. And I gave pretty girl her food and shit, which I was impressed by actually, because I thought for sure that stubborn cat would resist like hell. She's been so good the whole time, like from the beginning, taking her, putting her in the bag, taking her to the vet, bringing her home. She's just been so good. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Like this was a street cat, man. And look at her now.
She was a street cat 8 years ago.
Yeah,
it's been a hot minute.
She's had the street cat attitude since we've lived here.
Until it got cold this winter.
Yeah, now she's like, let me cuddle. I mean, she's funny, but she'll eat it. But then like she gets scared away by one of the dogs, or she gets scared away by Jasper because she's still like jittery as hell.
Yeah.
So
I don't think she feels safe while she eats. I think that's the problem.
So that, that happened.
The chubby's going to be fine. Like nobody freak out. The Thunderbird is going to be A-okay.
And we've got it all figured out now. Like we know our animals. And so at first you kind of clamp down really tight. And then you kind of, okay, now let's look at this realistically.
Right.
Because the clamp down really tight is guaranteed to work, but
it doesn't make
it's hassle and nobody's happy, including us.
Right.
So then it's like, oh, well, here you go. Here's a way for 3 of the 4 who don't need a change yet. Because one thing I should mention is we're thinking about moving to like a bladder maintenance food for all the cats.
Right.
Once she's done with her stones.
Right.
So,
oh my God, we've listed all of the chubby's nicknames.
This way we can keep them having their food out. And then she can't make it up there. It's impossible.
Oh, yeah, she's too large. Though we have to keep an eye on her because if she loses weight, then she's capable of jumping that high. I just don't think her gut gets in the way.
Yeah, I think so too. But we'll keep an eye on that. But talking about keeping an eye on things. So since we've moved here to Vegas, we love our neighborhood. We've had really good neighbors. I mean, seriously. One of our neighbors, who we've talked about with the snake that scared the hell out of Torya when we first moved here, he has a tree that likes to crap its leaves all over my driveway. Yes, that's my driveway. And the guy, so nice and feels so bad about his tree crapping on my driveway that he comes over and sweeps my entire driveway. And no, he doesn't just pick out his crap. He sweeps the whole driveway.
He's just a nice dude. I mean, granted, 99% of the crap on our driveway is his, but
still, nice guy. And does it without asking for anything in return. He just does it because he feels bad that his stupid tree
shits all over our driveway.
All over our driveway.
So I will tell you, the time that you went outside to talk to him about it, he was so nice.
Nicest dude. And he'll wave. Like if he sees us out there, he'll wave.
Quite frankly, it wouldn't bother me if he never cleaned his stuff off of our driveway. It's just part of living in a neighborhood.
Care of it, And I was taking care of it in the beginning, and then all of a sudden someone else was, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on, but this is kind of cool.
Strange.
Anyway, there's one exception, and it's been this house. Like what has to happen is, and anyone who's been here will know it, but just to describe it to you, like we're facing towards like a main street, but we don't want to go there. We want to go behind the other way. So we make a left turn out of our house, a left turn onto another street, and then we get to a T intersection. Now, if you kind of look diagonal to there's a house right in front of you. Then there's a house right to its right. Well, that house right to its right, oh my God, it looks like the RV from Breaking Bad out in the desert.
Yeah. Parked in a late 90s residential neighborhood, okay? Like, picture late 90s desert neighborhood. That's where we live.
Yeah, and this person, and
these
folks
people
that lived there with them were selling drugs out of there. Everyone was pretty convinced of it. And when people would complain to the police, they would be told, they're on our radar. We're keeping an eye, And I think they didn't want to go through. They took down the info, but they didn't want to go through the whole hassle of creating a case about it.
It started to get crazy a couple months ago. There was a domestic dispute, and one of the neighbors apparently got followed, and his dog had to chase the dude off, and then they just started to get worse and worse and worse.
So fast forward
to yesterday.
Wow.
Let's hear it. Come on.
What do you want me to do?
I don't think you can do it the exact same way.
Boom.
That's pretty close. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I pull out to go to my usual Tuesday morning appointment every time like clockwork. That's why I could actually tell you exactly the time, because I knew I needed gas and I knew how long that took. So I left 10 minutes earlier than I usually do. So I left right on the hour instead of the 10-minute after the hour. I know what time I left. I pull out to get to the T intersection. Right in front of me is a North PD. There he is. And I look to my right, and there's 7 more cars. And then there's people everywhere, with little yellow jackets on. They're just everywhere.
Little jackets.
So I leave, and I'm coming back, and then I call this one. I'm like, hey, want to have lunch? She's like, yeah, let's have lunch. So I think she thought I was going to bring her lunch home like a princess. But I like to have the escort, She always takes the easy way out. I like to have the escort. If she was getting the lunch, she would just go get it and come home, because for her, it's too much of a hassle. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. You look at it as it's too much of a hassle to come home, get somebody, and then go out and then come home again. Whereas for me, I like to kind of have the company with me. I just enjoy it. I like having people with me.
Well, you're weird.
And so we're different in that case. But anyways, I come to get her, and I'm like, you got to see this. You're never going to believe this.
Well, then
so now by this time, so much has changed. We go back there. There is a flippin' 18-wheel trailer
wheeling
all
out
the way across the place. And it's wheeling on a horse trailer, which we believe was used for, bad things. Anyway, allegedly.
I actually think there was somebody living in it. It's parked on their driveway. So there's that.
Allegedly.
I said I think first, you alleged lunatic.
Allegedly. You allegedly said you think.
I'm going to kick you under the table.
Anyway, there are cops everywhere.
There was no cops by the time we were leaving for lunch. It was just the last couple.
Well, what were those guys in the yellow jackets?
I don't think that they were cops.
You don't think they were from the police? I thought they were CSI.
Well, maybe they were. I mean, they weren't labeled. They didn't have a CSI van. They just had that big ass semi tow truck.
The reason why I thought they were CSI is because they were wearing the neon jacket that you would see at night as well. And so this way they have a, quote, uniform that works no matter when they have to work.
I have no doubt that they were with the police department.
In some way,
but I do not think that they were cops.
That works for me. Because I didn't really mean cops in that nature. I meant it the way you
Cool, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. So they're everywhere, and they're hauling stuff away. And so then we're heading out this morning, and we're like, hold on. What's that on the garage door?
They've
condemned the house.
It's condemned.
They boarded up the door. It's now a misdemeanor to go into that house.
I had to take a photo to read it from the street. But
wow, man.
Well, then there's this app called Spot Crime that's pretty rad. And they'll tell you like police incidents and assaults and all that crap nearby you. And I check it out every once in a while just to know if there's nefarious people targeting our neighborhood. And there it was. There was the arrest from 10:45 yesterday. Drug arrests.
Yeah, kind of seems to go with what the neighborhood thought,
So-
right?
They must have been at least allegedly selling drugs.
Allegedly.
But I totally think somebody was living in that trailer. And it was crazy because they had like 11 trash cans. Okay, we have 2 trash cans, a trash and a recycling. They had like 11. They would line them up in front of the entire house and they'd always be full. They would never take them in after trash day. And they'd be full again the next day. Then they had like all the vehicles lined up. There'd be all of these like trashed out vehicles. And then when you'd see people outside, they were people.
My brother says that it's going to get to the point where it's going to basically make the government take the property away from them.
I'm going to guess that process has already been started because it's been condemned.
I was going to say, think about it. They've also probably not been keeping their property taxes up.
Right.
So now if the building itself is so unsafe, you could, I know what they would call it in California. I have no idea what they call it here, but in California, they would call you a slumlord. That's the legal name they would put on the person who owned that house. Slumlord. Because they were, quote, renting it, end quote, out.
Yeah.
But what a crazy way for us to return home is, all of that. And,
God, we go to California for the weekend and so much changed, okay?
Yeah, because one other thing that we forgot.
No, there's 2 more things.
All right, let's hear.
First off, the drug house cleaned up. It's condemned. Goodbye, drug house. Then there's a park near-ish by our house where we drive past all the time to get to the freeway. They took down an entire freaking hill.
And I'm talking, let me think about
Not
this.
a whole hill.
It had to be 100 feet high.
That's what I think. And there was like trees and shit on the top of it. The whole hill is gone. Well, there's like a third of a hill left, but it's very flat.
Well, but I know why they did it. If you look at some like aerial photos of that area, it was like you'd come in from the main street right there, and you'd go up this hill, around, and then down the other hill. Kind of like, remember when Mitchell used to have running in Fullerton, and we'd have to go to that big giant park?
Yeah.
And you'd like go up a hill, and then they'd go down the hill. Well, that's how it was like. And I think maybe they've just like leveled it out now.
Well, and I think they're going to change the configuration of that intersection so that there are fewer accidents.
It's just weird. Like the center of that side going whatever direction that is behind me, and the center of the one going the direction I'm going don't meet.
Anyway, between Friday at 5 a.m. and Monday at like noon, they took out this entire hill.
Yeah.
But the piece de resistance, they finally opened our new neighborhood Mountain Mike's Pizza.
Yep.
And I'm excited.
It was good.
We've been waiting since the news article came out in November saying that they were going to open in December. Well, they didn't open until February 1st. That's fine.
They did
but
good.
Delicious. It was very
tasty, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a future episode. But the point is, live your life to the fullest all the time, because you never know how quickly things change. Look at what we're talking about. Like in a weekend,
so much
all
changed.
this stuff changed.
Yep. Well,
all right, guys.
Now that we talked about all of that, good night, everyone.
Stella, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.